WEF endorsed bugs and insects force-fed to the children in 1,000 plus Australian schools. Klaus Schwab's World Economic Forum, WEF, has been pushing infiltrated WEF states, including Australia, to force-feed the population with insects and bugs. Now school children are more than 1,000 Australian schools are being fed a diet of bugs and crickets and taught to consider the snacks to be the new normal, quote-unquote. Children are now consuming new generation chips, crisps, and snacks laced with eco-friendly cricket protein made by Circle Harvest, as Klaus Schwab's vision of the future is rolled out in Australia. However, experts warn that insects are not safe for human consumption. Insects contain chitin, which cannot be processed by the human gastrointestinal system. Chitin is the polysaccharide which is very tasty to cancer, parasites, fungi, and pretty much any other cause of illness in humans. Insects also contain metamorphic steroids, especially ecdysterone. Only birds can process insects safely. Evelyn Ray tweets 1,000 Australian schools have just introduced to their canteen snacks containing bugs. Kids are now munching on chips laced with eco-friendly cricket protein made by Circle Harvest. Only a few years ago, we would think this was an April Fool's prank. It's not just Australian school children who are being coerced into giving up traditional human food in favor of Klaus Schwab's bugs and insects. Tens of millions of Americans are beginning to finally wake up to the fact that the mainstream media is attempting to normalize bug eating as part of the WF's Great Reset agenda. Convincing the masses to eat worms, crickets, and other bugs has gone from an obscure conspiracy theory, quote-unquote, to an official project in recent months. But for those who have been paying attention, this push has not happened overnight. Over time, numerous mainstream media outlets have devoted their resources to brainwashing the masses into accepting and believing that eating insects is good for their health and the planet. All News Pipeline reports. The New York Post, for example, recently shared a puff piece for worm burgers, quote-unquote, arguing that their consumption could lead to a solution for world hunger. The article cites South Korean scientists who have cooked mealworms or beetle larvae along with sugar to create meat. Sugar, okay, we're not supposed to be eating that much sugar anyway. Now, they aimed to normalize this procedure by assuring readers that the protein alternative tastes authentic. Dr. Hee Cho, who is the project leader for Wang University, said that the following about this new glorified progressive trend. Quote, recently eating insects has become of interest because of the increasing cost of animal protein, as well as the associated environmental issues, end quote. And he said, insects are a nutritious, healthy food source with high amounts of fatty acids, vitamins, minerals, fiber, and high-quality protein, which is like that of meat. Critics have speculated that this normalization of bugs as food is a tactic for combating the rise in cost of goods and our emergency energy crisis, and under the emerging energy crisis, and under the guise of health and environmental reasoning. Moreover, the same critics argue that those pushing this new normal will start with something like grasshoppers, since chalupines are typical in parts of Asia, South America, and Mexico, and then they will move towards normalizing a far more out there alternatives like cockroach milk. Celebrities like Robert Downey Jr., Nicole Kidman, Kim Kardashian have joined in on the bug train as well, convincing their heavily liberal audiences of the benefits of these protein alternatives, while selling the idea that the change is not monumental for combating the rise in cost of goods and our emerging energy crisis, all under the guise of health and environmental reasons. Americans who do not want to eat insects and have become increasingly skeptical of this whole initiative, especially after learning that snack foods are now being made with insects, often without consumer knowledge, as a primary ingredient. God forbid. Now, for example, a Canadian food brand called Actually Foods lists organic cricket flour as one of its ingredients. And Canada also recently announced that it has completed its construction of the world's largest cricket production facility. Big companies like PBS America have hosted various events about the health benefits crickets provide, along with how eating bugs instead of meat can help our warming planet. And as Edward Snowden infamously warned on Twitter, you're going to eat the crickets. So while mainstream outlets and celebrities continue to push for the normalization of insect eating, they simultaneously smear their critics as conspiracy theorists who are missing the point and overshadowing the benefits of this trendy alternative. This is all while the same people who toot the claim, you will own nothing and be happy, quote unquote, want us to consume insects for so-called environmental reasons. So we have to pay attention to how insects are injected into a normal American diet in the coming months, as more stories like the worm burgers and cricket flour come to light. The mainstream media wants to make this transition feel gradual, but luckily more and more consumers are beginning to open their eyes to the ulterior motives at the core of this movement. And this is by Baxter Dimitri on News Punch. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.